Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike, and I am currently pursuing my bachelor's degree at Liberty University online program in social work. And one of the areas that really interests me most is behavioral health and addiction recovery. There's a couple reasons for that. One of the reasons being that it is part of my story. Addiction and mental health have both been a part of my adult life. I've struggled with substances as well as depression and anxiety. Currently, I am recovering. I am sober, and spirituality has played a huge part in my recovery from substances and mental health. So I wanted to kind of explore that a little more. So the question I asked is, how does spirituality influence long-term recovery from addiction and from mental health? And I chose it because I think that addiction is a very complex thing. It's a lot more than just physical. There's a lot of mental that goes into it, a lot of emotional, psychological, and as well as spiritual. And I really wanted to kind of dig more and see what the books and some articles had to say about how important spirituality is for the recovery, for people that do suffer from substances and mental health. And one of the main books I used was our Crawford book, Crawford textbook, Introduction to Research, Less Fright, More Insight. And I used this part of the book to kind of answer some questions about which method of research would be the best for me in this particular case. And I think it also does a good job of explaining the differences between all of the different methods and things like that. Another article I used was by Kelly and Eddy, 2020. Their study examined the role of spirituality and religiousness in recovery from alcohol and drugs. And I think by reading what they said, it kind of talks about how spirituality can provide hope for those who may not otherwise have it. You know, we get stuck in this dark cycle of depression and anxiety, and we have nothing to really cling to. And I think that by adding spirituality, it gives us something that we can see, something that's more powerful than ourselves, that's greater than ourselves, something that we can hold on to and kind of use that as motivation to get clean and sober. There was another source I used, a journal article by Zemore from 2007. This is focused on the spiritual change in individuals in 12-step programs. And I'll use an example, Alcoholics Anonymous. I'll kind of touch on that and how the spirituality plays into it. Alcoholics Anonymous has been around for almost 100 years. It's helped countless and countless people get sober, stay sober, and really recover from a hopeless state of mind and body. And the 12 steps behind Alcoholics Anonymous, one of the guiding principles of those 12 steps is spirituality. And it's a very important part of the steps because, you know, in order to get healthy, in order to recover from the hopeless state of mind and body, we have to become different people. I mean, we have to completely learn how to lose the things, or as AA would say, character defects that kept us down and kept us sick for so long, and learn new things and live a new way of life. And I think spirituality really is important in that because it gives us a guide to kind of shoot towards on how we want to live our lives. And, you know, it's a very important part of the program to, you know, find something that's greater than yourself. They call it, you know, your higher power, God, however you may call it. I think spirituality plays into that. And I mean, there's chapters dedicated in the AA Big Book strictly to spirituality. So it really ties into it. As far as the methods of research, based on what I've learned in this course, I think qualitative would be the best method for me to do research on this because it focuses more on people's own experiences and their emotions, their perspectives. And I think that can give me more of a detailed picture of what people are going through and how spirituality is helping them, more so than maybe just numbers or statistics would. And so that brings me to, you know, who I would interview if I was conducting research for this. I would interview people that are currently either in addiction programs, people from the rooms of AA, other sober support that I know, maybe some people that are just getting sober, and really allow for a lot of open-ended questions to have them describe their experiences in their own words, and really kind of figure out how much of a factor faith played, in relapse prevention and long-term sobriety and making new friends and really just learning to live a new way of life. I think another strength that qualitative research could provide is it would give me more meaningful responses, instead of, I guess, maybe just searching and selecting answers on a survey. I think I can learn a lot more about how spirituality, how important it is, one, and how it really does tie into long-term sobriety. On the other hand, it does have its limitations as well, with the sample sizes being smaller, especially me being able to, find people that would want to do this interview. I think there's a lot of people that I think it would be tougher for me to find a lot of people to do this, whether it be because somebody doesn't want to talk about their past trauma or, other things like that. It's a lot that goes into it. And I think that can kind of be skewed also with like a personal bias of, not everybody's spirituality may look the same. Some people's spirituality may be one way, while another person's might be completely opposite. And I think these both strengths and limitations of qualitative research can really directly affect my final product. But I think another reason, like I was trying to explain just a little bit ago, another difficulty is because spirituality is experienced different by every single individual. Two different people might work completely different recovery programs or have had completely different recovery experiences, and that can kind of maybe skew my final results and make it a little harder to achieve, like a real true answer. But in all, I think qualitative research is really the best way to go about this. I feel like I'm kind of grasping for the limitations to kind of just show you that there is some, but I think in this case there's definitely a lot more strengths to qualitative research than there is limitations. And next I'll get to who would I interview. I touched on this slightly earlier. The people that I would interview would be people in recovery programs, people in AA, other sober support I know. And I think the way that I would go about collecting the data would be to do recorded interviews. And with the recorded interviews, it would allow me to better organize the responses, to kind of take my time and listen to them more than once, to kind of find patterns and themes that are going on throughout, to really tie in the importance of spirituality to recovery and mental health. Again, could be a little harder to find willing participants, but that's okay. I think the important thing here is quality over quantity, as they would say, and I think, again, qualitative research would provide me with the best approach, I guess, to really find a true human experience behind the questions that I'm asking. In conclusion, my research question, which is focused on spirituality and long-term recovery, I think it's a good question to ask, one, for myself and for others, that are also or have also recovered or are recovering or are still trying to find their way. I think this project can not only help me, but it can help some people I know also. And I think the literature that I tied into this all really gives me good foundational basis for the stuff that I talked about, and good foundational basis to help me really, one, conduct the best interviews, two, gather the data correctly, put it all together and analyze it. It really helps me get a finished, polished product that I might not otherwise have if I wouldn't have read these articles or read the book or even taken this course. It's really helped me, in my own recovery going forward, because it allows me, I'm one that likes to research a lot of things, so it allows me to really know what to look for and how to look for it and how to tie it all together. So, it can really provide valuable insight to me and to others in addiction recovery. And, really by doing all this research, I can really get my answer to how important spirituality is to long-term recovery. I know how important it is to my recovery, but it's nice to also find out how it affects others and how spirituality works for them, because I think it can really help me grow as a person as well and give me a different perspective on a lot of things. So I appreciate you guys listening to my presentation, and I'm sorry if I was all over the place. I was a little nervous doing this, but all in all, it was a really fun project, and I appreciate the opportunity to do it. And again, thanks guys for listening to me, and good luck to the rest of you on the rest of this course and your courses in the future, guys. Take care.